Hello everyone, it's Kevin Annett. This is July 1st, 2016, and I have some very important updates for you. First of all, the most important one being our award-winning program Radio Free Canada, the weekly broadcast of the Republic of Canada from the former Dominion of Canada. That is resuming on Sunday, September 4th at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You can follow that at the BBS Radio Network, bbsradio.com/Radio Free Canada. So please tune in September 4th. It's going to be the kickoff of a whole new campaign involving the common law action groups in Canada and really around the world. Prior to that, though, I want to give some very important news updates involving the Independent Missing Peoples Inquiry on the west coast of Canada, the attacks on our work recently coming from the Canadian government, and new evidence exposed in the United States showing secret archives of the Catholic Church. First of all, the update about the Independent Missing Peoples Inquiry. After 3 months of investigations, the independent inquiry known as the International Tribunal for the Disappeared of Canada has released a startling interim report. Based on more than 100 interviews, the report claims that the number of missing women and children on Canada's west coast is, quote, far more vast than previously suspected. It is a huge number, probably in the thousands. This is because the previous police investigations were deliberately skewed to focus only on Aboriginal women in certain parts of the province who had been missing for a whole number of years. But when you look at the total number, regardless of location or the amount of time missing, we literally discovered that hundreds of mostly Aboriginal families are literally vanishing at a constant rate across the entire province of British Columbia. We know also from eyewitness accounts, including from inside sources, that the RCMP and local police officers, social workers, government officials, and judges are all involved in these disappearances. We also know that from a special team operating out of Terrace and Powell River, British Columbia, we know that the Chinese cartels have been involved in these disappearances, including Chinese companies with military connections, as part of a general ethnic cleansing program aimed at Native people to colonize the West Coast with Chinese settlers. For example, Sinobright, which is a Chinese corporation that sponsors offshore private schools in China and Canada and advocates an escalating immigration of Chinese to Canada, this company is establishing a major operation in the coastal town of Powell River, which has historically been a hotspot for Aboriginal disappearances and drug importation and the general trafficking of children. Some of this testimony is found online at itccs.org. This company's head executive, Quan Kuo-ying, is linked to Chinese generals who were implicated themselves in military-run human organ trafficking trade in China, running out of military hospitals, and the mass disappearances of targeted minority groups in China like the Uyghur Muslims. The Chinese military leader Xi Jinping and several highly placed generals are business associates of the Sinobright company, which is setting up business in Powell River. And it's interesting, too, that the police have been discouraged from investigating around Powell River, apparently from political and diplomatic pressure. We know that Chinese investment in especially British Columbia has increased 15-fold in the last 10 years, and that all of the indications of the reports coming out of the West Coast now of this inquiry is that the genocide now is being targeted specifically at Native groups standing in the way of these Chinese companies. There'll be more updates on this. You can read more of these details in the accompanying report that goes along with this YouTube video. Another report, the book called Murder by Decree, the counter-report to Canada's genocide cover-up, is now being officially censored. Murder by Decree, the crime of genocide in Canada, is being proscribed by West Coast libraries under government pressure. Because in recent weeks, copies of the book have been continually vanishing off the shelves of libraries in Nanaimo and Vancouver, and no logical explanation is being given for these, the vanishing of the book by the library staff. In a conversation on June 3rd between myself and a senior library staffer at the Vancouver Public Library, the staffer said, quote, "We were advised that the contents of that book could create a litigation issue for the library." When I asked litigation from who, he said the city and Victoria. "You mean the provincial government?" And she said, "That's correct." Now, copies of the Murder by Decree and its companion work, Unrelenting, Between Sodom and Zion, can be obtained through Amazon.com and createspace.com. We have to make sure that this vital information showing how Canada has censored out its story of genocide, we have to make sure that this story is not removed from the public discourse. Finally, another important item, a secret archive of Catholic Church crimes has been uncovered by Pennsylvania grand jury members. A grand jury in Altoona, Pennsylvania has issued a report that reveals a policy within the Catholic Church of maintaining secret archives of evidence related to the trafficking and rape of children by priests. These archives are under the sole control of the local diocese bishop and are never to be made public. This report is part of a case that has indicted a local Catholic bishop, Stephen Reka, for aiding child rape and trafficking in his diocese. Reka may stand trial within a month. What's earth-shaking about this is that it confirms the standing Vatican policy of crimen solicitanus, in which the local bishop is expected to cover up child abuse and never to contact the police about it. According to one of the lawyers in Altoona prosecuting the case, quote, "In effect, this discovery could point to a broader system of planned malfeasance by the entire Catholic Church that meet all the legal definitions of an institutionalized criminal conspiracy." And in that regard, it's also interesting that coming out of Quebec is a very significant story, reported in the Guardian newspaper on June 24th. One of the archbishops, who himself is under suspicion for being involved in the Ninth Circle sacrificial cult, has ordered all of the Catholic priests in the Montreal area to be banned from being alone with children while doing their services. The sudden announcement by Lepin's office came during the same week that new evidence linking him to the trafficking and disappearance of children at Marie Reine de Mont Cathedral in Montreal began to surface. Archbishop Lepin, who ordered that Catholic priests are now not allowed to be alone with children, he himself is an intimate and longtime associate of Cardinal Gérald Lacroix, who's a confirmed member of the Ninth Circle and a participant in a February 2014 ritual killing of a young boy at the Jesuit San Lorenzo Church in Rome. On August 15th, 2014, a planned ritual killing of 2 children at an Outremont suburb of Montreal private house that ritual was disrupted by an ITCCS team. But that team discovered material on the site in which Christine Lepin's name was mentioned as one of the initiates of the Ninth Circle cult in Montreal. Now, a letter of demand was going out to Archbishop Lepin this last week, asking for information in regards to his involvement in the Ninth Circle. And instead of responding, Archbishop Lepin simply announces that now all Catholic priests are not allowed to be alone with children. To quote one of the ITCCS members in Montreal, Lepin is doing more than covering his own ass. He's protecting members of the Ninth Circle in Montreal by casting a fog of beneficence and concern around his entire diocese to mask the fact that it's a child-killing ground. Now, Quebec affiliates of the ITCCS are mounting a new campaign about this, including the possible convening of a common law court to look into these child killings by the Ninth Circle in Montreal. You can contact itccsoffice@gmail.com if you'd like to be involved. And finally, along with the launching again of Radio Free Canada on September 4th, there will be a new speaking tour by myself and other members of the ITCCS commencing in September, focusing on campuses across Canada, continuing across North America, and ending up in Europe, where I've been invited to speak in Italy, Germany, the Czech Republic, and Russia during October and November. Wherever you are, please help to convene local citizen assemblies and common law courts to begin to reclaim the sovereignty and jurisdiction in your own areas under the new jurisdiction of common law, especially under countries like Canada under so-called crown jurisdiction, a jurisdiction that has been nullified by the verdicts of our court. If you'd like to be involved in this, contact me, hiddenfromhistory1@gmail.com. You can also leave a message on the number on the attached text of the announcement that goes along with this YouTube. This is Kevin Annett. I thank you, and we'll be in touch soon.